So let's focus more on just going on a stroll here. A little bit of flow state, nice and easy. We don't gotta dive bomb every corner. In fact, it's best not to do that as a general practice. There's only a handful of corners you need to dive bomb, really, on a given map. I'm better at identifying the corners I need to late apex, but generally, the dive bombs and the late apexes are connected for all the racing fans out there. You typically want a late apex before a straight, so you can carry as much speed through the car. You compromise all the corners before the corner you want to apex late on, and get a little bit of less time, so you can carry as much speed as possible into the subsequent straight, because that's where you find a lot of just easy time. If you can get through a straight, enter a straight 15 kilometers an hour faster, you're killing that straight in a far lower time. So that corner is incredibly important. And then as far as the corners you want to dive bomb, those are the corners that actually are at the end of a straight, because you want to keep your average speed as high as possible. So when you're entering the final, or exiting a sort of straighter section, you typically, unless of course for some reason the track won't really abide it, you typically want to just dive bomb that corner, just to keep your overall speed up. And then you compromise your entry into the subsequent like chicane section, cornery section. Gon can correct me if my racing theory is a little bit off there. As I recall, that's what this hog was studying about a month ago. Now, just because I can identify the corners I need to late apex, that does not mean that I can always execute. Astute racers will of course watch me and observe myself making a lot of mistakes, and of course I have a bit of an active mind. I'm a bit intellectual to my own detriment, so I can often catch a lot of my own mistakes, even though my body can't execute quite the way I want to. It's one thing to know when you have to late apex, it's another to actually set it up and do it consistently. Of course. You know, it's just a lot going on in racing. A lot more than people suspect. I know, in some ways I was surprised. I knew it was a deep... Whoa. Hey, buddy. We're okay. Not that I was ever believing that racing is just cargo fast. I actually have this really vivid memory of racing like some go-karts as a kid, and it was... Honestly, it's a very cherished memory. I enjoyed it a lot, and I was thinking a lot about it, and I was really speedy for like a 10-year-old or whatever the heck I was when I was driving it. I had a really good, deep intuition for how to do it. Of course, as we grow, you don't always keep that stuff with you. And it's not like I had all the intellectual stuff. I was just, I had a good intuition and an active mind. So I was thinking quite a lot about some stuff that I would come to learn later in theory. Later being, almost 2 decades later. Oh yeah, we just lived through there. That's fine. No brakes. All gas. But yeah, and of course, one of my favorite parts compared to what I'm doing now, and one of the things that actually makes sim racing very, very difficult, is that you do not get the sense of speed and momentum that you do, not in the complete way that you do when you're actually out on a track. your sense of balance and momentum, the G's, etc. on your body when you're out there. Not that I was racing anything insanely fast, you know, I was just a kid on a go-kart. But you can feel the corners. You can feel them in a totally different way than in sim racing. And you can pick it up a lot faster. A lot faster, because you get that full body sense. And you know, you learn what it feels like when the tires break traction. So you know how much G the car, like you can literally feel it. You can feel what the kart can handle, or whatever it is you're driving. As soon as you break the traction the first time, you remember, because you're like, oh shit, I almost died. And it leaves this big imprint on your memory about what that feels like and what that looked like. So unlike in the sim racing, you don't get any of that. And yeah, it's just extremely valuable information. So in some ways, sim racing is harder than real racing. Of course, there's more on the line when you're on a physical track. You can, of course, literally bin the car and yourself. Whoa. I shouldn't have just mindlessly drove into that rumbler there. Lifted my rear wheel, lost traction pretty quickly since I was full out on the gas. But yeah, I'll never forget that experience karting as a kid. That was something special.